everybody. How are we all doing? So, as promised, I am here and I'm going to talk about, well, today, answering questions really from allies, LGBTQ plus allies. And today's question is all about, it's really about language, you know, inclusive language, and moving away from gendered language, you know, and why that matters. And in what sort of circumstances, I suppose the question was around, you know, that I got was around, is it okay to use the term guys in our house, you know? So it's a family home. People are, you know, talking to each other and saying, hey guys, you know, it's time to go, we're leaving, going out, whatever we might be doing, or hey guys, dinner's ready, whatever those things might be, you know. And the question, I was asked that question by somebody who I know who is an amazing parent to a young trans person. And they've been thinking about it, you know. Hey Zoe. And yeah, and we had a great conversation, you know, and really, though any of you that have been following me or reading any of my content will probably already know, you know, what I think about this. Guys is not inclusive. You know, if you want to be inclusive to the LGBTQ plus community, guys is not inclusive. And okay, so you might already get that. Okay, that, yeah, okay, I can understand that it might be gendered, but you know, everyone knows that when I say it, you know, this is something people say to me quite often. Yeah, but everyone knows that when I say guys, I mean everybody, and I'm including everybody. And your intention isn't really what matters in this instant. Because what matters is the potential that you have to alienate and exclude. And even worse, the possibility that you have to harm somebody, right? Somebody from the LGBTQ plus community. So I'm going to talk a bit more about that. But really, like I say, what this is about inclusive language. And inclusive language, if you're going to be an ally, if you want to be an ally to the LGBTQ plus community, then you've got to start, you know, using inclusive language everywhere. I think everywhere in your life, because this is about also changing ingrained ways of being and thinking and acting, you know, making assumptions about people's gender or people's sexual orientation. We all do it. So that to basically unlearn that, we need to practice it all the time. So I think, you know, saying, well, I'll use it at home or I'll use it with my mates is probably not going to help you, you know, really be able to sort of unlearn those terms like ladies, gents, boys and girls, those sorts of things as well. They're not inclusive either. Hey Sarah. You know, how do we unlearn these things? I think we need to practice them across all of our life. And when we're doing that, other people will notice. That's the other most powerful thing about this. I see it, right? I can see when people are starting to let go of gendered language, when they're starting to change and think about it. I watch people doing lives, you know, people with big followings, amazing coaches, amazing people in the wellness space, and I can see them doing it and I feel it, and it's like, it matters to me, you know, too, as an LGBTQ plus person, as a gay woman, as a lesbian, you know. Guys, if people use the word guys, it hurts me for the people I know that it will exclude, marginalise and potentially cause harm to. So, yeah, I think, this is what that's about. It's about inclusive language. Guys is one term that is bandied about everywhere, that people assume is all right. Well, it's okay. I don't think really people are going to be offended by it. No one said anything to me. It doesn't matter whether they say it or not. They'll feel it. And I think the other thing that hurts me, and I know there's some LGBTQ plus people listening, watching right now, is that we're used to it. We're kind of like, oh yeah, well, we're used to it. We just accept it. And I'm like, why do we do that? It's kind of like we accept being marginalised, we accept being excluded. And that's not good enough, is it really? But it's kind of like what we do, we put up with it. So just because no one says anything to you, if you are using gendered language, doesn't mean you're not hurting them. And some of that hurt is kind of unconscious as well, or it's something we've just got used to. But it does affect us, right? And yeah, what happens if you keep saying guys, if you continue to do it, is that you will be excluding people, you will potentially be alienating people, and people won't feel safe with you. People in the trans, non-binary, gender non-conforming part of the LGBTQ plus community, particularly them, especially if you think, if I give you an example of why it might alienate somebody or cause them some sort of distress, if you think of a trans woman, so basically somebody who was assigned male at birth and they've transitioned to female, they don't want to even think, they don't want someone using male. So guys it has come from masculine male terminology and language. It's not good, that is not something that they want to be referred to as a guy. So I think, one of the key things here as well, and I don't, now because of the work that I do, the understanding that I have, if I hear guys, it doesn't make, it makes me question whether or not you get why it's important to include and be inclusive to the LGBTQ plus community. I think, I want to see, as a gay woman, like I say, I want to see you understanding why it matters. Because then I think and I believe that I'll be safer with you as a gay woman. Zoe, good question. Do I have thoughts around the use of masculine and feminine in the spiritual and wellness space? I think it is potentially problematic. I think it's a separate life for sure. And I think it's one that is definitely being talked about. And I think that, as with everything, I think there's quite a lot of where we are right now with this whole, if you look politically, socially, culturally, with things like some of the arguments and some of the debates and discussions around the trans community in particular right now, the media coverage, there is a lot of negativity around the trans community in particular. And I think it's very black and white what I see. And I think that I believe there is always a way to make it work for all of us. So I think that I will definitely take that one on and maybe bring some other people into the conversation, Zoe. So thank you. Yes. So this is what I was saying was what happens if you keep saying guys, if you just sort of think, oh, well, it doesn't really matter, it's not really that important. And I think that, yeah, you're alienating, you're excluding, and there will be a lot of people that will just kind of brush it off. They won't leave your community, they won't not join or benefit from all that you have to offer, you know. But there will be some people who just won't go there because they do not want to put themselves at risk. And that is why I think if you want to include everybody, if you want to provide your services and your offers for the LGBTQ plus community, then, you know, this is a no-brainer. You really need to be thinking about this stuff. And for me, I think one of the other things, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, I potentially could think that you don't care enough to bother. Especially, I mean, this doesn't just apply to cisgendered straight people. There are people in the queer community also who will use gendered language. That's why when I talk about allyship, it's not just for straight cisgender people. It's for LGBTQ plus people to think about as well. We're all allies to each other. So yeah, do you care enough to bother? I need to know that you do, you know, if I want to be part of your communities. And yeah, I think, you know, it's not about whether your intention is, well, I didn't intend to exclude anybody, because that is like, it's not what we need to be centering. The people that we need to be thinking about when we are wondering whether or not we should use guys or ladies or gents or any of that stuff is the people that potentially we could cause harm to. In this case, primarily, maybe, the most harm that you're going to cause to is trans, non-binary, gender non-conforming people. It's not really about what you think or feel about the term guys. It's kind of irrelevant if you want to be a really effective ally. And I'm really open to hearing different viewpoints on this. Yeah, because, you know, somebody who's transitioned, particularly in, you know, if I use that as an example, from male to female, like I said earlier, they will potentially struggle and have struggled for a very, very long time with something called gender dysphoria. And that is when they're assigned sex, their biological sex at birth is different to their gender identity. And that is something that I can't even imagine. All we can do, you know, if we are cisgendered ourselves, is, you know, try and understand and think about what that must be like, the pain that someone must be in, the anxiety, the stress, the depression, the mental health struggles that part of the LGBTQ plus community in particular that we're talking about right now struggle with. So for you to call them guys, it's just not going to help. And then, like I said earlier, they're not going to want to risk it. You know, like me as a gay woman, I'm always looking for those signs. Will I be welcome here? Will I witness homophobia? Will I be in a community where everyone's talking to me as if I would have a male partner, as if I'm straight? And I've had that a lot. And like I said earlier, we put up with it, but that's not right either. So yeah, I think we need to, if we are the people using guys, if we are the people who think, oh well, you know, no one said anything, no one seems to mind, or everyone knows that I mean everybody, I think we need to start thinking about the people that potentially we could cause harm to, and not about our thoughts. Our thoughts about whether a guy's is okay or not is kind of irrelevant. Yeah, and I think, you know, it's about allyship. Really, LGBTQ plus allyship is about centering the marginalised, the oppressed, the people who are, you know, in the LGBTQ, all of the LGBTQ plus community who are, you know, it's illegal, still a crime, still a crime to be LGBTQ plus in over 70 countries in the world. Conversion therapy, which is not therapy, it's torture. Trying to convert someone from gay to straight, trying to, you know, to change someone's gender, is legal in the UK still. It's just shocking. So they're the people that we need to be thinking about when we're thinking about whether or not guys is okay. And it's kind of like, well, if you're an ally, then you know, this is what allyship's about. It's about working on our behalf, on working on the behalf of the LGBTQ plus community to create greater equality, awareness. And like I said earlier, when you do it, I see it. I can see it when people are starting to change their language. Not only does it warm my heart, and I love it, but also you are role modelling. If you've got communities, other people will see you doing it too. And people have said, well, won't people think it's weird if I start using different language or sharing my pronouns? Maybe. But they might also think, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I need to look into that. Maybe I need to start doing that too. You know, if I believe in equality and inclusion, it is about changing and moving away from the familiar. So I'm going to wrap this up. Let's check in the comments. So yeah, we're going to do another live about the masculine and feminine in the spiritual world. 3 things that I want to leave you with. You know, what can you do? So the first thing is stop saying guys, right? And I know it slips out, and I know that it will. You've been doing it for years and years and years and forever. But if you really care about it, one thing I read the other day, which I quite liked, was like I can't remember what they called it, but they had like a swear jar, but it was like a guys jar. So every time, you know, someone said guys, it was kind of like, yep, got to put £1, you know, to an LGBTQ plus charity, for example. And try on new, inclusive, gender-neutral terms. Do you have this thing where all peeps, someone said to me, all peeps is a bit like, it's a bit cute, it's a bit sort of, not sure how comfortable I am with it. Give it a go, you know. Folks, friends, team, gang, you know, whatever environment you're in, colleagues, if you're at work, whatever. Everybody, I say everybody a lot because it's easy. There are so many other ways that you can address a group of people. So yeah, try them on, practice, you know, and let that they will soon become as familiar and comfortable as guys has, right? Jodie, I see you've joined as well. Like Jodie said yesterday, you know, I can't remember actually now what you said that you used, but I think you used team and friends and folks and stuff. You know, it's all just great language. Nothing wrong with it. And centre the queer person, centre the queer community. Perhaps think about trans, non-binary people, gender non-conforming people a bit more, you know, especially when we're talking about language and inclusive language, and not yourself. And perhaps, you know, if you are having those thoughts like, oh, well, no one seems to mind, get curious with that. You know, where's that coming from? And you mean you may also think, well, I don't really have people like that in my community, or really, you do. You definitely have queer people in your communities, and waiting for that one person to come in that you might offend, team and people, thanks Jodie, waiting for that one person that you think might turn up one day and then you're going to change your language. It's very, very dangerous strategy, I would say. So yeah, stop saying guys, try on gender inclusive terminology, and yeah, centre the queer person, the LGBTQ plus community, and not yourself, right? And what else? Yeah, be somebody that cares. You know, if you're an ally, then you've got to care. And I need to know you care as a member of the LGBTQ plus community. And sometimes I do wonder. All right. I'm going to hop off now. Thank you so much, Jodie, Talia, Zoe, Kirsty. Oh, thanks so much for being here, Sarah. Any questions? Hey, Vicky. Any questions? Just drop them to me and I will answer them. All right, everyone. Keep going with your allyship. You are all amazing. Hey, Jasmina. Lots of love to you all. Have a great Monday.